What makes a villain powerful? Is it their abilities or their mind? Welcome back, Nerd Squad. I'm your host, Amanda McKnight. Find me on Twitter at VampX13. And for now, let's get counting down the top 10 most powerful villains with no powers. Number 10. Punchline. While Punchline might be new on the scene, she did go toe-to-toe with Harley Quinn, herself known for being a pretty deadly and unstoppable villain when she wants to be, and, surprisingly, came out on top. Punchline sliced Harley Quinn's throat and then left her for dead in the sewers below Gotham during Joker War, but of course, Harley would recover. Still, Punchline's victory was surprising for her being such a new and unseasoned character and baddie, so I think we learned then that she is a force to be reckoned with. Punchline seems to enjoy fighting with stiletto daggers and dreaming up her own deadly brews of poison, even creating her own special brew of Joker venom for Batman, which gave him a pretty bad trip. Number 9. Komodo. Simon LaCroix is a powerful villain in terms of his importance and what he's accomplished. Simon was a young man full of ambition when he came to work at Queen Industries. Impressed to Robert, Simon was like the son he'd always wanted. Oliver at the time was still pretty shallow and unfocused, unlike Simon. Simon joined Robert on an expedition to find the Arrow Clan totem. The totem was said to bring enlightenment to those who found it. Wanting such a reward for himself though, Simon betrayed Robert, killing him in cold blood. Simon would go on to become one of the most skilled archers the world over, despite even being blind in one eye. And despite him even being blind in one eye, he's pretty much like as good as Oliver is, maybe even better, at least on the same level, which is pretty crazy. As a deadly assassin, he would take up the codename of Komodo. Number 8. Chameleon. Chameleon might have been given powers later on in life thanks to serums and body modifications, but originally he was just a guy who was really good at disguises. And for that reason, he's making our cut. Chameleon is the first ever Spider-Man villain to appear, appearing in issue number 1 of the Spider-Man series. In that first issue, Chameleon attempts to disguise himself as Spider-Man while committing crimes, in essence ruining Spider-Man's possibly already shaky reputation as a hero. Despite the fact that Chameleon is really just a master of disguise, he still manages to be a powerful recurring villain for Spider-Man. At one point using his skills to take part in a plot where he convinced Peter that his parents were still alive with realistic robots, who then tried to kill Peter. It was pretty wild. Number 7. Two-Face. Of course, many of the villains on this list are going to be Batman villains. I mean, Batman is one of the most famous superheroes without superpowers himself, so of course it stands to reason that his own foes tend to also be on the same level and are generally also not superpowered. Harvey Dent has to be one of the most deadly foes of Batman around. In many narratives, Harvey Dent is established as an old friend of Bruce's with altruistic goals, often known for being the district attorney of Gotham, attempting to bring various criminals to justice and end corruption that exists within the system. But after he is disfigured, he becomes the evil and sometimes chaotic Two-Face. Number 6. Kingpin. Kingpin is a fearsome foe that you'd want to watch out for. Although Wilson Fisk has an intimidating form and presence though, he doesn't have superpowers. And while physically he can present as a pretty deadly opponent, you'd actually want to watch out for his tactical and diplomatic skills in a weird way. Fisk is strong both in body and mind, and is quite learned when it comes to leadership and tactics, which is really what makes him so scary. Kingpin believed from a young age that politics were where true power lay, and so studied rigorously to learn how he might be able to sway others in doing what he wanted and making those around him believe in him. I mean, he didn't become the mayor of New York just by bullying people, he actually made the people of New York believe he'd be a good mayor, which was how he earned that position. Like, that was a fair election. They literally voted for a supervillain to become the mayor because he proved himself as a kind of good dude. Number 5. Lady Shiva. Lady Shiva is an unstoppable force. She is believed to be possibly one of the best martial artists in the world. She was trained by the League of Assassins after already being a formidable foe before that even happened. At least, that's what she was up to in the New Earth continuity. Well, in that continuity, Lady Shiva is a sometimes villain against and sometimes ally to heroes. In the Prime Earth continuity, she's pretty much all bad, at least so far. She was taken in by David Kane, who wanted her to become the mother of his child, a child who would be perfect for serving the head of the League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul. This would make her the daughter of Cassandra Cain, who is sometimes known as Batgirl. Number 4. Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus might be someone you think of as having powers due to his mechanical tentacles, but in actuality, he created those. They're actually inherent superpowers granted to him by, a freak accident or from him being from another world. Really, Otto Octavius' greatest gift is his brilliant mind, and typically what you'd want to watch out for more power is his ability to outsmart you. I know some Spidey fans are going to wonder where Norman Osborn is on this list, aka Green Goblin, another notorious Spider-Man villain, who perhaps is oft thought of more as Peter Parker's main arch-nemesis. But the reality is, while both Norman and Otto are brilliant people and their minds are some of the most dangerous things about them, Norman Osborn has the Goblin Serum, which actually does give him powers, while also making him kinda crazy. While Otto has no such thing, just technological advancements that he himself created. Although in some versions of the story his tentacles also alter his mind and are kinda what turn him into a villain to begin with. Number 3. Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is the arch-nemesis of Superman, ironically considered to be one of the most powerful of the DC heroes. Ironic because Lex himself does not have any superpowers to speak of, but is just a man. Although sometimes he's a man in like a really sick suit of armor, so that's kind of powers, but he made it, so not powers. And if we're to believe some versions of the tale, Lex is also a man who hates Superman because he blames him for his hair loss. Although in reality, Lex's hatred for Superman extends far beyond that. Another main idea that Lex seems to fixate around when it comes to his hatred of Superman in canon is that Superman is not of this world. And that's the more widely accepted reason why Lex doesn't like Superman. Something that makes Lex so dangerous is he can actually be quite likable. At one point, he was even elected president of the United States. Lex is extremely wealthy and also typically uses his money to actually help those less fortunate, which of course makes him a hard person to come up against because on paper he might not initially seem so bad. But you know, behind the scenes he's usually doing super shady things. Let's be real. Number 2. The Joker. The Joker is evidently one of the most deadly and powerful people on this list because of the way his mind works. While he might not be as inherently brilliant as a lot of the other folks without powers, Joker's mind is at the very least quite unique, and it's his creativity that really makes him so horrifying. Also, while Joker might not have powers by default, he does sometimes devise diabolical plans to get his hands on some powers, or on some form of power at least. During Joker War, Joker swindled Batman out of his fortune, and all that money came with a kind of power, as Joker could pretty much do whatever he wanted as long as it had some kind of price tag attached to it, which honestly most things in the world do, so dangerous. This also allowed him to manipulate the people of Gotham as well. Another time he actually tricked Mr. Mxyzptlk into giving him 99.99% of his power. Number 1. Ozymandias. Ozymandias is the main villain of the Watchmen series, despite himself being a self-proclaimed hero. Adrian Veidt might claim to be a superhero, but he doesn't have any real superpowers, he's just got a brilliant intellect. Although to be fair, that is one of the deadliest things you can possess as a villain. Adrian might also have a diabolical plan, but he still sees himself as a hero, which makes him even more dangerous really. He believes that in endangering the world and killing millions, he'd actually be saving it, as he'd give people a universal threat to unite them. Ozymandias believes one of the greatest threats to humankind is themselves, and the risk of a nuclear war basically breaking out. So he does some unspeakable things in an attempt to protect them from their own most likely future: division. What makes him so powerful is even the heroes have a hard time arguing against his points once this truth is revealed. They're like, well, true, people are very divided and they could just hurt themselves and all die, so maybe we should kill millions of people. Maybe that is the way. Who is your favorite powerless villain? Which villain without superpowers do you think is the most powerful? What do you think makes a villain powerful? Besides superpowers, of course. Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube.